foolishness that you felt like was no big deal at one particular time has blossomed into a whole forest of big deal. Because my husband has all over the internet about having sex with his wife with cancer.
Picture this. The cameras are rolling, the cast is whispering, and the crew is frozen in their tracks. Everyone is expecting a regular filming day, maybe a little drama, a few tears, and some emotional conversations. But then, something completely unexpected happens. A sharp sound slices through the air, not from a microphone dropping or a scene being acted out, but from real life. Kimmy Scott lifts her hand and slaps Maurice across the face. It wasn't planned. There was no warning. Just one loud, powerful moment, and then silence. Everyone stood frozen, mouths slightly open, eyes wide.
It was hella disrespectful, and it doesn't protect me. And now I have to answer questions from my mother?
Yeah, I didn't think about the collateral damage. To me, it was like, if I just apologize to my wife.
So now you gotta apologize to my mother.
Maurice blinked a few times, stunned, caught off guard. No one moved, no one spoke. What just happened didn't come from a script, it came from years of holding in pain. But let's rewind, because that slap wasn't just a sudden burst of anger. It was the result of years of emotional pressure. It wasn't about boosting the show's ratings. It was about Kimmy finally reaching her limit. If you've been following Love and Marriage Huntsville, you know Kimmy has always been the calm one. When everyone else was arguing, she was the voice of reason. While drama swirled around the group, she stayed grounded, offering support and clarity. She wasn't one to throw shade or raise her voice. But slowly, fans started to notice something was off.
Kimmy is doing as admirable as a spouse. To roll over and suffer through it, I look at it as her standing by me while I'm standing by her. There's a difference between wants and needs. I'm a person who actually needs sex, not a person who wants sex.
Why do you need sex?
I need sex like Carlos needs mess.
Her smile started to fade. When she did speak, her voice was soft, almost too soft, like it carried a heavy weight. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed, and it became clear Kimmy was tired. Not just tired from filming or dealing with cast drama. She was emotionally drained from battling cancer, managing a rocky marriage, and trying to stay strong for everyone else. Maurice, on the other hand, looked like the perfect husband on camera. Supportive, present, composed. But off camera, things were different. People close to the show said Maurice often said the right things in public, but was distant at home. Kimmy noticed, of course, but she often convinced herself she was overthinking things. She gave him the benefit of the doubt again and again. But it wasn't just distance that hurt Kimmy. It was something deeper, something that left her feeling completely alone. Maurice had been messaging a woman from his past. The texts weren't sexual, but they were too personal. The words he sent showed a kind of emotional connection that had no place in a committed marriage. Especially not while his wife was in the fight of her life. Kimmy discovered these messages while recovering from chemotherapy. Imagine being sick, exhausted, vulnerable, and finding out that your husband was out here talking to someone else like she was his piece. Saying things like, "I miss how calm you made me feel," while Kimmy was struggling just to get out of bed. It wasn't just painful, it was crushing. Still, Kimmy didn't react right away. She kept quiet. She confronted Maurice off camera first, hoping he would be honest. But instead of taking responsibility, he brushed it off. He claimed it was just a friendly conversation, nothing serious. He said Kimmy was reading too much into it. That's when things began to shift. Later, when the cameras were set up for a scene meant to show them having a deep heart-to-heart, Maurice tried to play his usual role, calm, composed, emotionally distant. But Kimmy wasn't there to play anymore. She had been pushed too far. And when Maurice told her she was being dramatic, that was the final straw. That's when the slap happened. It wasn't out of rage or to create drama. It came from disappointment, from heartbreak, from reaching a point where silence was no longer an option. In that one moment, everything changed. The man who had built a reputation on being level-headed lost control, and maybe his marriage. The reaction on set was just the beginning. Letitia stormed into the scene like a fireball, demanding that production shut everything down. She pointed fingers, raised her voice, and accused Kimmy of going too far. According to Letitia, Kimmy had embarrassed the family, damaged their reputation, and let her emotions take over. What surprised people most wasn't Letitia's anger, it was how quickly she came to Maurice's defense. When Kimmy was sick, Letitia didn't show this same energy. But now that Maurice's public image was in trouble, Letitia was right there by his side. Many people on set noticed the shift and gave her side eyes. It wasn't just about loyalty, it was about ignoring someone else's pain to protect a brand. While Letitia shouted and pointed, her husband, Maurice Scott, stayed calm. Too calm. He pulled Maurice aside and quietly advised him to breathe and wait for it all to pass. He didn't ask Maurice if he was okay or hold him accountable. He just went into damage control mode. To Marceau, it wasn't about fixing a broken relationship, it was about protecting the public image of the Scott name. And then, in the middle of all the chaos, Melody did something different. She didn't yell. She didn't try to steal the spotlight. She quietly walked over to Kimmy, sat next to her, and stayed silent. No dramatic music, no big camera moment, just two women sitting in quiet understanding. Melody knew this pain. She had gone through her own public heartbreak. She had been betrayed, broken down behind closed doors, and forced to be strong when she had nothing left to give. So she didn't need to say anything. She just showed up. At that very moment, producers were scrambling. Executives were getting updates by the hour. There were phone calls with lawyers, PR teams, and even reps connected to Oprah. This wasn't just another reality TV scandal. It was a serious crisis. A cancer survivor breaking down on camera. A husband emotionally checked out. A physical confrontation on set. Advertisers started asking questions. There were whispers that production might pause the show, not officially, but just enough to cool things down. Maurice was quietly told to stay home for a while. No suspension, no statement, just a quiet exit. Behind the scenes, writers began thinking of new storylines. There were even talks about creating a spin-off focused on the women, especially Kimmy. A show about strength, survival, and new beginnings, something deeper than couple drama. Meanwhile, fans online were going wild. Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube exploded. But this time, it wasn't the usual "this show is messy" kind of buzz. People felt deeply connected to Kimmy's story. They weren't just curious, they were heartbroken for her. One post changed everything. Kimmy uploaded a photo of herself, no wig, no makeup. Just her, bald and peaceful. The caption said, "Peace is expensive, but worth it." No hashtags. No explanations. Just truth. That one post hit harder than any press release ever could. Maurice, on the other hand, stayed silent. No posts. No interviews. Nothing. His silence didn't help. It only made things worse. People were watching closely. Then, the messages came out. Screenshots started to spread online, first on fan pages, then on gossip blogs. The texts weren't graphic, but they said a lot. "I still think about you from time to time. You always knew how to make me feel better. Sometimes I wonder what things would have been like if we had tried again." These weren't just friendly words. They were emotional confessions sent while Kimmy was fighting cancer. The internet reacted fast and hard. People called it emotional cheating. One tweet read, "You gaslighted a cancer survivor." That's not just selfish, it's disgusting. The phrase emotional infidelity became a trending topic. What hit people most wasn't the exact words Maurice wrote, but the timing, the context. Kimmy was fighting to survive, and he was out here reminiscing about the past with another woman. Producers couldn't avoid the backlash. Meetings turned intense. Sponsors asked for answers. One major advertiser, known for promoting mental health and wellness, allegedly warned they might pull out if the situation wasn't handled properly. Some producers suggested cutting Maurice's screen time, maybe even writing him out with a soft goodbye. But others saw a different opportunity. Maybe this was the time to focus on Kimmy. not her marriage, not the drama, but her story, her strength, her healing. People close to Kimmy say she started to feel something she hadn't in a long time seen. She didn't post long messages or clap back at anyone. She let her silence and her presence speak. Meanwhile, Maurice had to watch everything he had built start to fall apart. His carefully built reputation of being wise, rational, and steady was now being replaced with terms like emotionally absent and cowardly. And the worst part? No one was interested in hearing his side. The damage was done. The cast grew quiet. Some tried to stay neutral. Others started quietly choosing sides. Fans began praising Melody more, seeing how she supported Kimmy with quiet strength. Letitia, however, faced a lot of criticism for defending Maurice and dismissing Kimmy's pain. Marceau faded into the background, trying not to say anything that could get him involved. Through it all, Kimmy didn't scream or fall apart. She stood firm. She chose peace over chaos. Slowly, she began to share glimpses of her life, moments of calm, time with her son, her work, her recovery. Every post she made received love from strangers, fans, and other survivors. They saw her, they believed her, and they respected her choice to heal on her terms. This was about more than just one man's mistakes. It was about how women are often expected to carry everyone's emotions while burying their own. It was about emotional burnout, about being stretched too thin for too long. And Kimmy finally let go, not to break, but to begin again. No one knows if Kimmy will stay on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, or take on a new journey in a spin-off. But one thing is certain, she's no longer protecting anyone else's peace. She's choosing her own. And for the first time in a long time, that's more than enough. If you felt Kimmy's pain and strength in this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. What would you have done in her shoes? Do you think Maurice deserves a second chance? Or is it time for Kimmy to walk away for good? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear from you. And remember, real healing starts with honesty, even when it hurts. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay real, stay kind, and stay tuned for more truth behind the drama. See you next time.